Emotional issues individuals experience daily. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 12th Families Grow Together show. My name is Aqua, and I am an early years practitioner, an early intervention practitioner supporting children with speech and language delay. Today, we are going to explore the emotional issues that we experience on a daily basis. We all know that the emotions that we feel every day determines the joy that we experience, the outcomes of our interactions with people. So today, our very own Nelly is going to give us a presentation on some of these issues that we face on a daily. Hi, Nelly. Good evening and welcome.
Hi, Aqua. Hi, everyone watching. Thank you for being on here today. I am Nelly Kwasonwe, and I'm a transformational life coach. Today is another session on emotion. So I'll hand over to Aqua while I get my slides ready.
Thank you, Nelly. So, if you've never explored your emotions, then I think you are doing yourself a disservice, because Nelly here has lots of courses on emotions. It's like she was born to share information and experiences and teach people how to recognize certain emotions that they face on a daily, that they encounter on a daily basis. And it is important that you identify these emotions and see how they impact your life, because the degree to which you recognize your experiences and your emotions that you experience on a daily basis determine the degree to which you have fulfillment in your life. So, are you ready, Nelly?
I am ready.
Oh, this, I'm excited. So let's go.
Okay. Yeah, let's go. Get your pen and papers ready and take down some notes, please. Put your questions or comments on the comment box and we'll talk about it, or we'll share or answer later if we can't meet up. So for today, the agenda is components of emotions, contributions to emotional issues, emotional problems, signs of emotional distress, and what you can do. This saying, I like quoting people: feelings or emotions are the universal language and are to be honored. They are the authentic expression of who you are at your deepest place. That's by Judy Wright. Just before we start, I'll ask you a question. What are the components of emotion? You can share that on the chat. You can write it in your notebook. So we've talked about components of emotions previously. We have the feelings, the body arousal, the social expressions, and the sense of purpose. I won't go into detail because in the previous, we've talked about it a number of times. So it starts with a thought. When an event happens, there's that thought because you have given that event a meaning, and you retrieve that meaning from your thoughts, then it provokes your feelings, and then your behavior, it can go the other way around. So those are the components of emotion. Another question. So now, what factors contribute to the emotional issues you or someone you know experience? Again, you might want to type that in the comment. So, contributions to emotional issues. Like I've said previously, not on this edition, other sessions, emotions are an indicator to our body. It's neither bad nor good. It depends on the meaning you give to an emotion, and it is mostly from our past experiences, our beliefs, our values, and our mindsets. So the issues that contribute to emotional issues are when we experience these emotions, we tend to block them. We don't want to talk about them. We suppress them. And repressed emotions do more harm than good, which is why it comes out as emotional problems or emotional issues. Sometimes you have emotional denial, because this one I'll link it to some cultures whereby they don't talk about emotions. And when you experience an emotion, you think that, oh, it's an emotion, I don't need to talk about it. So despite the fact that you experience that emotion, you deny yourself of that experience, that emotion that you are going through. But again, you just deny it, but it is there. It's natural. You are not the one making that up. So it comes out as an issue because you've not dealt with it. The next is the lack of emotional control. When you don't know your emotions, again, you might know your emotions, but you don't know how to control it. It will lead to problems because you might want to then repress it, or it might come out in a problematic way that you did not intend. You have emotional disconnection. If you don't know your emotions, you don't accept your emotions, you feel that, oh, is something wrong? You don't need to talk about it. Just keep pushing it. So basically, this thing, what contributes to emotional issues is when you experience those emotions, you don't express them, you don't deal with them. Like you might have an issue in the past. I mean, I've not seen anyone who has not had a problem in their life or a difficulty. We all do. But then you look at it, why is it that some people have moved on and others are still stuck in their past emotions? So that will lead to a problem. And sometimes you feel the need for pleasure. Like you have that emotional struggles, but then you want to push it to the side and then seek pleasure instead to cover up the emotions that you don't like to experience for whatever reason. Another question, what emotional problems do you or someone you know experience? Because sometimes it's easier to identify a problem with someone than yourself, because we easily externalize things, but seeing it within ourselves sometimes is difficult. So what kind of emotional problems do people experience? Depression. I started off with depression because it is very common. And there was a study that says depression and anxiety are the two highest percentage of emotional problems globally. So this is the feeling sad, hopeless. You lost interest in things and you are being helpless. Sometimes you cry without knowing why you are crying. And to extreme cases can lead to suicide, unfortunately. So for these ones, I'll just talk briefly on them because they are not just in isolation, they are interconnected. So the next emotional problem I'll talk about is phobias. This is an irrational fear of any specific thing. Aquaho is sat there, I know her. So when severe, it leads to anxiety and disturbs normal functioning. So there are lots of phobia. Like I know Aqua's phobia is cat. And you have fear of spiders. There are just so many phobias out there. The fear of height, fear of some people, fear of water, anything that you can think of, you would find someone who has a phobia. And it's because of something they had experienced in the past, or sometimes children learn that from their parents or from their environment. So though it is said that the causes for phobia are really complicated, and it affects individuals' stability and social life. Eating, emotional eating. So when we talk of emotional eating, is it's not just overeating, it can be undereating as well. So this is unexpressed feelings that can result to either overeating or undereating due to the mixed feelings of fear. This can be caused by anger, shame, guilt, loneliness, fear, boredom. Sometimes it can lead to eating disorders like obesity, though obesity is not only eating, there are also biological factors that it can lead to obesity, bulimia, anorexia. So those are some of the eating disorders that people experience, and these are all fear-based. Then you have stubbornness. So many people take this word stubbornness very challenging and call it proud, rebellious, unfaithful, greedy, and denial. But actually, a person who is stubborn is rigid about something he or she has in life due to the fear of losing something. So when someone is stubborn, it's not that they are doing it intentionally to hurt you, it's their own coping mechanism, but sometimes it hurts really bad. And you have hypersensitivity. This is the tendency to be easily hurt, worried, or offended. They usually get stressed quickly. So hypersensitive get stressed quickly. It causes several problems like headaches, migraines, depression. They tend to overwork because, again, that is a coping strategy to distract themselves. They tend to overwork, take too many responsibilities, and that makes them suffer. With this hypersensitivity, sometimes it can be mixed up with, say, introverts or extroverts. It just depends. But nothing, like I said before, nothing works in isolation. If you see someone who is, for instance, hypersensitive, don't just, or who behaves in a way that you think is hypersensitive, don't draw conclusion, because you need to look at other things. Then the next is isolation. This is a mental condition in which a person almost loses themselves. They feel isolated, or they isolate themselves from the world for a particular period. Sometimes this can become very often because they use this as a coping strategy. They feel unworthy and start questioning life. And sometimes, unfortunately, isolation can lead to suicide. I just want to differentiate isolation from being lonely, because you might be in a crowd full of people, but you feel isolated or you feel lonely in that crowd. But then on the other hand, when you see someone who is by themselves, it doesn't mean that they are lonely, because someone might be on their own, but they are very busy doing things and it doesn't affect their lives. So you need to understand what actually is isolation. Then you have aggression. This is self-destructive behaviors or behaviors that cause pain to others. It can be physical, mental, emotional, or verbal. Parenting is not the leading cause, but sometimes traumatic incidents provoke extreme levels of emotion. Why I put this about parenting is sometimes parents get the blame for everything for their children. For us, parents might be doing the best they can, but other things contribute. So panic attack. This is an intense level of fear and anxiety that a person finds it hard to breathe. And though it is not really clear the reasons for panic attack, but sometimes any traumatic incident becomes a reason. So is to find out that person, what that person is going through. Question: what signs or behaviors reveal that you or someone you know is experiencing emotional issues? I can't say the last word there. Okay, so you can share that again on the comment. I just decided to put so many questions, so there are things that you can be responding to, and we will have something to discuss or to share. Okay, signs of emotional distress. You'll find yourself or someone complaining of tummy ache or stomach ache or feeling sick. That is a physiological signal, but if you look into it critically, it is emotionally based and it is distress. Another sign you can watch out for is lack of concentration. Probably this person or yourself used to have a concentration span of, say, 10 minutes, but then you realize that the concentration span has reduced to 2 minutes. You become fidgety. You can't even do something from start to finish. Those could be signs of distress. It can impact on your performance, because when you don't focus, your performance probably will be affected. You withdraw from social interactions because you don't want to be there with people. People can easily irritate you. What they say, what they do, what they don't do, what they don't say might irritate you because it's not coming from outside, it is within you. So anything can be a trigger for you. So watch that out for yourself. Say if you are getting irritated or you tend to be shouting, say anything someone does, you get so upset about it, just take some time and ask yourself, what is going on with me? It could be that you easily identify with some other person. It will be the same again. It's to help that person understand what is going on with themselves. But again, you've got to be careful because emotionally, people are so guarded. And the last one I'll talk about is mood swings and changes in behavior. So 1 minute you can be very, very happy, and the next minute you are sad. Sometimes you don't even know why. But again, those could be signs of emotional distress, is to watch out. So what would you do when you or someone you know is feeling low? Okay, so you can use distraction techniques. So for yourself, make sure your safety. Make sure you keep yourself safe because it's very important. Change your focus. Distract yourself to do something else. Engage in something that you used to enjoy doing. For example, go out for a walk, do a physical activity, listen to music, dance, do some gardening, some writing, painting, drawing, singing, cooking, baking, whatever. You can you can go to the park and feed the dogs, or just do anything that will take your mind off the trigger to something else. That will help you to calm down. And if you see that with some other person, make sure that the environment, the surrounding is safe, because when someone gets to that deep level, they can do anything. Not intentionally, but sometimes it could be impulsive. So it's just to help them to keep themselves safe, and then help them also to change their focus. You might want to say, especially if it's someone you might know that, oh, they like cooking. You can suggest, oh, what if we probably try a new meal or cook their favorite meal or do some baking or just anything to get their mind off that thing that is making them upset. Then you get professional help because you have done your part to calm that person down. If not, that same pattern will go over and over, and this person will really be suffering, I would say. So for them to get solution, seek professional help. For instance, your doctor, your psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, a coach, anyone that you can get in contact with. So for myself, as a transformational life coach, I help individuals to identify their fears and how their emotions are being impacted. And I help them to tap into their inner resources to change their current situation. So if you are struggling or someone you know is struggling, you can get in contact with us. Families grow together hand in hand, and we will arrange to speak to you or speak to someone who is struggling. So that is all. It was a really, really quick one today. So thank you so much for watching. And I will just close my screen and go to Aqua so we have our discussion. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nelly, for that beautiful presentation. This is something that we all experience, and sometimes because we do not recognize the level to which this can be disruptive or this can affect us, we sometimes push our emotions to the side until it becomes such a problem that sometimes people break down. So thank you for this. Right, so we're looking at how emotional issues, the experiences that we have on a daily basis, depending on our emotions. So Nelly has just told us what the components of emotions are, which I would like us to explore a bit, if you don't mind. So you said the components of emotions are feelings, bodily arousal, sense of purpose, and social expression of these emotions. What I'd like us to discuss most is first, anyway, is the bodily arousal. Because sometimes when you have these feelings, these emotional, these conversational triggers, let's call them that way, you do not realize what exactly you're feeling. You can be fine 1 minute and then start feeling this sense of irritation or tightness in your stomach. Or can you give us some more expressions, like some more signs that this is what is happening? This might be this or that, this, things like that. Can you tell us more about our bodily arousal? What does that mean?
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Aqua. So the body arousal is a physiological response that our body gives. So you have talked about the butterflies in the stomach. Some, it might be you start clenching your fists. You start clenching your fist because it is the chemicals in your, you need to take action. So if you see yourself, you start clenching your fist, that is an indication. Then sometimes your palms might be sweaty. That is an indication. Sometimes you will be sweating, either from your head or your whole body will be sweating. So those is for you to be aware. What are you feeling? Where is it coming from? But again, if you are not aware of if you don't have that self-awareness, you will just be ignoring. So it's for you to start sensing and questioning yourself. What is happening? Why am I feeling that? Where is it coming from? Because like, I would say it's typical, like say in children, though it's in adults as well. They talk about my stomach ache, or they have a headache, or they have a fever. But then if you take, say, fever, you touch, they don't have any temperature. But then if you find out about their feelings or what they are thinking, that's a way to help them to explore and for you to understand. So it's for you to find out those different signals, that how the body responds, how the body reacts to whatever is going on with your emotion. I don't know if that is enough. You are on mute, Aqua, again.
Again. Right, thank you very much. Yes, because sometimes it is important that we know, because we all have triggers. There are certain events in our lives that bring out these things. And if you do not know yourself, you'll not even be able to identify what that is. So some of these things occur frequently. If you have certain events that continuously happening, that are continuously happening in your life, there will be some feelings and emotions that you experience each time. So if we do not identify these things, if we just take it as, okay, another one of them things, then we will not be able to help ourselves. We'll not be able to learn how to manage these things and to have a positive outcome, because that is all what we want. We don't just want to identify these emotions and identify that I have butterflies in my stomach, and so what? It is a what next? What do you do with them? And how do you learn how to manage them so that you have a successful outcome, so to speak? So thank you for that. Right, I'd like you to talk about the social expressive as well, if you don't mind. Can you expound on that? What does that really mean, and how on a daily basis, because we're talking about issues that we face on a daily basis, how does that manifest on a daily basis?
Okay, yeah, thank you for that one, Aqua. So social expressive, we are social beings. We live in communities. There are so many societal norms. And one of the sessions we did where we talked about cultures direct, I would say, our emotion. Because though you feel an emotion, but the way you respond or react depends on what your community or your culture or your society react or also respond to that particular emotion or emotions as a whole. So say, I will go back to myself. I'm from Cameroon. We are from Cameroon, from Africa. Mm-hmm. We did not use to express certain emotions because, like growing up, having discussions around emotions was not there. So we didn't have not that language to describe emotion, but we felt the emotion. So that's how society influences how we express those emotions that we experience. Whereas in other cultures, they have so many different words to describe, for instance, sadness. In some cultures, they have so many, whereas in other cultures, they don't. So if you are in a culture where they have so many different words for sadness, you'll be able to describe that because you might say, oh, I feel unhappy, I'm feeling the blue, and so on. But if you don't have it, you can just say, I'm feeling bad. And in some cultures, that is all they have. So that is how the social expressive works.
Thank you for that, Nelly. That made me smile because sometimes it is nice to just escape. When you have just that one word to describe that emotion, it is easier for you to just say, okay, I'm sad today, full stop. You don't even know why you're sad. Are you deeply sad? Are you depressed? Are you just upset because somebody said something that you didn't like? So sometimes it's better not to have so many words to describe the emotions. One thing you said was about cultures, and it is true because before I came to this country, I didn't know that depression was a word that was attributed to human feelings. Depression to me was like an economic word. You know, when discussing how there's a depression in the economy and this and that, the other. Not that I did economics to any level, I just did O-level economics. So depression wasn't a word that I would have associated to a human being, let alone an illness. So it is important that we recognize, as you said, that there are certain languages that do not have the words to describe certain emotions. They just have basic emotions. And another thing about the cultural aspect is learned responses. We learn to respond from the responses we get around us. When people respond with anger, that is what we are going to learn how to respond. If we respond calmly, that is how the kids as well are going to learn how to respond to situations around them. The way we deal with conflict, our children learn from us how we deal with conflict. So if we with the silent ones, we just withdraw and ignore everybody. That is what the children will learn how to do. If we can openly talk about things, then that is what they learn to do as well. So it's important that we, as social beings, model what we want to see our children do. So thank you for that. Ango, welcome. And thank you for your comments.
Okay, let me just read Ango's comment there. Ango says, sometimes, hello Ango, thanks for joining. So Ango says, sometimes you feel funny instead, but can hardly find the word to call that feeling. And that's true because our vocabulary is really, really limited to emotions or to feelings. So Ango has said reacting instead of responding. Yeah, people easily react, like you talked about anger. So I'll just talk a bit about that anger because like I've spoken to people that I've worked with or sometimes in just casual conversations. And because people have grown up in a community, in a society where anger means you are tough, you are strong. That is the only way survival. So if there's a situation, anger will help you to get a solution. But that's what people grow up learning. And then they pass that on to their children. And the children react the same because they are not responding, they are reacting because they don't take the time to understand, to respond. They just react because that is all they've known. That is what they've seen from their parents, from their community. Whereas if they learn what that feeling is and what is the appropriate way to deal or to solve that problem, then they will be able to respond instead of reacting to that. So I just thought I'd put that in with the anger that you talked about.
Right, thank you very much. And that's so true. And you know, sometimes you only can do what you know. You know, you cannot do what you do not know. You cannot respond to something that you're not aware of. So you cannot manifest a behavior that you have not ever experienced. Well, so I don't understand, know whether you understand what I mean. You can only express what you actually know. So if you are unaware, if you're ignorant about how to deal with certain things, you're going to deal with them just the way that you learned to deal with them. So it's important. What I'm driving at is the importance of learning and developing ourselves, the importance of being curious about certain things in life and about ourselves as well. Why do I react this way all the time? What is it that triggers me to respond in that manner? So it's important that we learn, we are willing to learn and go out there and look for that knowledge. Today I was reading Proverbs and he talked about, I'll just paraphrase, talked about how our desires without knowledge can lead us into trouble. So it might be a positive desire, you might want to start a business, but because of lack of knowledge in that area, we'll jump into things without preparation. So it is important that we find out information, that we learn about things before we step out and do things that will cause us trouble. Now,
just before you continue, Aqua, you've said something there very, very important. Most, I would say, African community, I can be biased here, probably because I am from Africa and I deal with a lot of Africans, not only Africans, but probably that's where my bias comes in. But developing that mentality to learn is very, very important. I am saying this because members of the African community, they don't, in the sense that people will prefer to attend compulsory training at work, whereas they have free opportunity, or they have the opportunity to attend a free personal development training, but they will refuse. And the reason is because if they don't do the mandated training at work, they might stop their contract or whatever, and they need the money. What will you do with the money when you don't even have you don't even have that happiness? So what then is the money for? What I'm driving at is to develop that mentality to learn and grow for yourself first, because what is the point going to work every day? You feel stressed, but then to take a few hours, even if you are learning on YouTube, learn on YouTube is free. Learn to grow. It will help you to even reduce the stress that you face at work. So I just thought developing that attitude, because it's an attitude, it's a mindset that you need to grow your personal self before anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelly. You have, wow, this conversation keeps getting wider and wider. Now that you talked about mandatory training and self-development, it is very important. I always bring, because we learn from other people, obviously. So one of the people that I learn from all the time is Jim Rohn. And he says, you need to add value to yourself. Work more on yourself than you do on your job. Because you working on your job will give you a living, but if you work on yourself, it can make you a fortune. So my intention, my goal is to make that fortune. I'm slowly getting there, and I know that I will reach there one day. So I am determined to work more on myself. I want to be the best version of me that I can be. And I will go to every challenge if possible. And Tony Robbins has one next week. If I will attend it on the Unshakable Challenge. I want to be unshakable. I want to thrive. I want to live to my best life. I want to be in the state of, because our joy all the time, irrespective of your circumstances. You want to have a sense of joy and peace in you. So thank you for that. Yes, we've got a bit of time. So let's look at the contribution to our emotions. Thank you, Ango.
Okay, let me just read what Ango has said. Yes, you will definitely reach. So that's for you, Aqua, for what you said, and I support that, and I agree with that. You work really hard, dear friend.
Thank you. Need more encouragement, no? We all need one. Thank you for championing me and us, because what we're doing it for all of us. Right, so let's look at the contributions to the emotional issues that we have. One of the most, or a couple of them are quite important here. Repression. Repression is when we repress our emotions, it can have a detrimental impact on our bodies and our health and a lot of things. Can you give us a little bit, a couple of lines to elaborate on some of the things that can actually happen to you when you repress your emotions?
Okay. I'm just thinking for an example, like a little story. I've got one. Okay. Let's say you are a 5-year-old. I like going down to 5-year-old. Let's say you are a 5-year-old and you come back from school and you don't do your chores. Your mom comes back or your mom cooks and your punishment is you will not eat because you've not done your chores. You sit there, you are hungry. You don't know what else to do. But at that time, you see your mom as your all and all. You rely on her. She cares for you. She is your authority figure. She is your everything. And you start thinking, but how can my mom refuse to give me food? But then what do? Probably you don't know what to do. You might go to bed, your stomach will be, you have stomach cramps because the intestines are empty. So probably you want to help yourself and you go and you get some food unauthorized.
You mean
Some will say steal. You get the food because you want to help yourself. Okay. You wake up in the morning, your mother realizes that you have been in the pot and you get well beaten. So then you decide, you know what? I will not go that direction again. So already at that point, you've made a decision. You at that time don't realize that it's a lifelong decision you've made because at that time it's an unconscious decision. So as you grow older, when you find yourself in similar situation, you will not even think of what happened to you years ago because that was a decision. You'll be dwelling on that decision. That feeling is still there because when you think of it, the feeling is like it's just happening. So then you just continue with that pattern until you get to probably 30s, 40s, whatever years you get into. And you start having problems with food. You might start thinking, oh, probably it's because I don't have appetite, or probably it's because I have a lot of appetite, eating problems. But then if you trace it, it is from when you were 5, 6 years old that something happened. But because you repressed, you try to not to act on that emotion whenever you face a situation like that, you want to push that away. But then it comes up in a way, in this little example that I've talked about, it might come out as an eating disorder because either you don't want to eat or you want to overeat. So again, I easily understand when it's in a story form. So I don't know if you've understood that. I don't know. And those watching.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Because sometimes like it comes to how to react to certain situations, and when you start getting those physiological responses in your body, you either you either fight, you fly, you run, or you freeze. It is something that we experience on a daily basis, really. So yes, thank you. And sometimes if we do not know where that came from, if we do not trace back, and we need help in tracing these things back, because sometimes you just respond or react to certain things without even knowing where that came from. And you say, why did I shout like that? What made me go overboard on that? Somebody made a little comment and you just blew your top. And then sometimes we do not, because we do not want to deal with our emotions, we do not want to go to the root cause of the emotions, we then double down and we're proud of what we have done. I have told them off, I gave them a piece of my mind, I have this, I have that, and not realizing that you hurt yourself more rather than the people that you think that you've told off. So it's important that we go back and trace where all these things came from.
Yeah, that's very, very important. And you've really said it nicely, because a lot of people, they are so scared at the thought of wanting or thinking of dealing with their emotions. Because again, um, the cultural taboos around emotions, people have a lot of negative ideas about emotions and they don't talk about it. But the thing is, we experience so many emotions on a daily basis. And the funniest thing is, the more you refuse to deal with those emotions, the more you think about them, and that is draining your mental energy a lot. Whereas if you take the courage to understand what those emotions are and deal with them, you will get a solution. And even if that same emotion comes again, you realize that it will not be as intensive as it used to be. But it is that courage to want to deal with that emotion or any feelings or any issues. And yes, we need support from people to guide you, because like you said, if you just react at something that someone said, most people don't even realize that they just react. They say, oh, but that's the way I am. They always say that it's just me, that's the way I am, and I cannot change it. And then you keep reacting that way. You are hurting yourself, you are hurting other people, you are hurting your relationship with people around you. Whereas if you take the time to start questioning, I think a change comes in when you realize that you need to start questioning your action. Because once you get to that stage of start questioning, then a lot of mental shift will take place. But it is from getting to not even knowing about it to start questioning, that step is really, really, it's a really big jump for most people, in my experience, to jump to start questioning themselves, their behaviors, their reactions, so they can make the change. Yes, but seek help.
Yes, thank you. And God's put a comment there, that very powerful story, generally. Repressed stories have caused marital problems big time. We definitely have to visit the problems we face daily and trace the root cause. Thank you for that, Ango.
Yeah.
Yes, and she's just put again that she's just read the book by Gary Chapman. Gary Chapman is one Christian author, so addressing repressed emotions. Some Christians think that they can speak it away with prayers. As a Christian counselor, he said, we must understand and address the emotions to be free. Definitely.
Yes, very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you so much, Ango. Yes, because when you talk to some people, I'll just follow what Ango has said. Christians or linked to religion, people will say they will pray about it, they will fast about it, and it doesn't work like Gary Chapman has. Ango has just written there what Gary Chapman has written in his book. You need to explore, expose it, become aware of what that thing is, the origin, the root cause of it. You can pray from today till next year, but it will not change. And people use such methods or such strategies just to cover up. But then what I say is, if you want to know who really you are, it's at that wee hour of the night where you are there in bed and all the sleep is gone. You start wondering, why am I not sleeping? And then things start coming in. That is when you know that is the real you. At that point, start to question yourself, because that is when you need those changes to know who you are. Only praying will not solve any problem. You need to take action, really face it. And I think we really need to come back to a lot of these points, say separately, because they're all interconnected. And when you start talking about one, it fuses into others. Yeah. Thank you, Ango.
Yes, thank you for that. We definitely need to come back to some of these things because that's what we said from the last show. We have to sit down and pick up those points that we need to really sit down and trash again. Like you have just summed that just right, because no matter how much we pray things away, they will not go away if we do not face them. God will not do what we need to do. He will do his part, but we need to do our part. And that is what I usually tell all my clients, speech and language families, because sometimes parents want to pray the speech and language delay away when you can access support. So I'm like, do your part and God will do his part. Nobody's saying that don't pray about your child. Nobody's saying that God cannot miraculously heal or restore your child to where they should be. But you have a part to play. So we all have a part to play in our own well-being. So nobody can will come and do your well-being work for you. You have to confront these things yourself. You have to look in that mirror and say, who am I? Who am I really? Who am I when the cameras are not on? Who am I when there's nobody around me? Who am I when I'm not in a public place where people can see me and I'm not projecting that image that I want everybody to see? Am I the same person out there as I am in here on my own? That is a question that is something that we need to face, each and every one of us. So
yeah, that's true, because most people portray this public self. And when I say this, I always go to celebrities, not all celebrities though, but some celebrities, because they are like iconic figures and people look up to them when they are projecting the public self. But who are they when they are in private, the private self? And sometimes I feel so heartbroken because what the celebrities, some celebrities portray out there, they are showing others or their fans misleading lives. Because why I'm saying this is because you look at some of these celebrities, they are high performers, but then they are into addictions, they are into drugs, and then some of them sadly commit suicide. So if their lives are brilliant the way they are on stage or wherever in the public eye, why can they not maintain that in private? So this is something people need to be aware of, because even on social media, some people get so mad following other people on social media, thinking that that public self is who they are, when they don't even know these people. You don't know the people you are following. So you need to, I mean, they say due diligence, do that.
And that picture on social media is just a snapshot of that moment in time.
Yeah.
4 hours, there are 24 hours in a day, and a picture is a second. It just takes one to put the right lighting. You just need to stand on the right pose, and you're perfect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then with all these filters these days, there's so many filters. You can put the best filter ever,
Yeah.
and you're perfect. And everybody's like, how do I be like that one? Huh? No, please. Look at yourself in that mirror. Look at you in the mirror of the word of God. Who has God said you are? And that is identity. What God is about you. And it's the truth about you that you need to know. Yes, God, it says that, that the truth will set you free. It's the truth about Christ. Christ is the truth, yes, but it is the truth about yourself, who you are as a person. If you do not know who you are, you're wasting your time. You can look at other people as much as you like. Oh, you're not doing this. You look at their faults here, you look at them, but it will not change your life. No matter how you blame the other person, no matter how you project to the other person, until you stand there and look at like, these are my faults. I need to work on these things. Then that is when you'll be set free. So it's the truth about yourself and not the truth about other people that will set you free.
Yeah. And what I like to say, just to top up on that, is you are just perfect the way you are. Your imperfections, your weirdness makes you unique and special. Embrace your uniqueness, because there are no two. If you want to copy Aqua or myself, you will never, ever be like Aqua or me. But if you want to improve on yourself, you will make the best version of yourself. So work on yourself and not wanting to copy other people, because you will never be like them.
Mm-hmm. And to add to that, when we look at your gifts and your talents as well, what God has put in you, He has put in you. Do not be jealous about somebody else's talents or their gifts. Learn from people. What I always say is, like, I learned this from Miles Monroe. Look at the principles in every situation. What is the principle that this person is using? The principles will work for everybody, but do not copy exactly what that person has done. So if the person is consistent, copy that consistency. But don't go and copy, I am consistent in doing YouTube videos. If you do YouTube videos, you're going to explode as well. No, that is not what God has called you to do. He may have called you to do something else. But because this is what this person is doing, I'm going to copy them. No, that isn't, no. Don't do that. Look at the principles that a person is building a life on. Principles don't change, but behaviors do. Right. We're running out of time, and I really wanted us to explore some of these emotional problems that we face. And when we've talked about,
I think let's take that for next week.
There's a lot of things that we could explore on this thing. So it's important to be aware of these things. So before coming next week, please think about some of these things. Are you sometimes depressed? Do you have any phobias? Do you eat emotionally? Look at some of these things. These are some of the problems that our emotions can cause. So it's important that we explore these things and seek help if you need help. We do a lot of emotional well-being courses. So go to our website and find out more about what we do. You can be one of our participants in one of our courses. And be really, what I would like to emphasize is know yourself, know your body. Listen to what your body is telling you, the reactions that you feel in your body. Listen to what your body is telling you. Your body doesn't lie. If you have that gut feeling about a certain thing, pay attention to it. Not only the butterflies because you're anxious about something here or there. Pay attention to what your body is telling you, because your own body doesn't lie. Your feelings are automatic. Although we can control them, although we can repress them, but that initial instinctive feeling comes naturally. So we will always react to situations, but why are we reacting that way? We need to pay attention to the reaction.
Okay. Thanks for that. I will just read what Ango has summed up. Thank you so much, Ango. She says, yes, principles work for all. We should find our confidence to stand in our real self. Yes, that is true. True self, not the fake, because the fake is becoming the new normal, but no, it isn't the true self. You need to become authentic. Okay, so for next week, we'll talk a bit more about the emotional problems and the key emotional needs. Okay, so for those who want to follow us and find out more, our website is www.handcommunitycic.com. Again, handcommunitycic.com.
Thank you for that, Nelly. Thank you, Ango. Thank you for all those who have watched this episode. We pray that you have learned something, even just one thing. It's important that we pick one thing when we listen to something, at least just one. You don't have to learn everything, because we cannot contain all the information. I myself haven't taken in all what Nelly has shared today. So we need to take one thing that we can put into practice, whether it be it questioning your emotions, like, why am I feeling this thing? Or not even just noticing them. Write down every emotion that you feel on a daily basis. You can just make an inventory of the emotions that you felt in that one day. Sit down and reflect and see where you live emotionally and see whether you are in the right place. What am I supposed to do about this thing? So identify where you are emotionally and then do your best to live your best life.
Yeah. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Stay blessed and see you next week. By the way, if you have any more or any topics that you want us to discuss, please get in contact with us or just comment below and we will get to you. Ango is suggesting the way we talk to other people that leads to depression from repressed emotions. So we'll consider that subsequently and we will deliver.
Us, come on the panel, come and be part of us. And
Yeah.
your learning and your knowledge with us, you are very welcome. So yes, the more the merrier. We want to learn from one another.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much and bye for now. Bye.
Bye.